Okay, today I'm here to show you how to take a speedometer right here out of the dash. You'll notice I have the dash out of the car. I'm looking for all the parts and putting it together. I'm going to do a video. Everybody's always interested in how to take a dash apart, so while I got it out of the car, I'm going to make a video. But before I do that, for the purposes of the lubricating and servicing, which needs to be done, if they set a while, the old grease and oils in them kind of bind up, and there's a plastic gear in there that I'll show you later, but it gets all ground up. If it'll make a funny noise, a whining noise, if it's starting to go, so you kind of get a warning on it. But anyway, we'll go through rebuilding this and getting it in the car. But basically, to start out here, there's 4 screws, one here, one there, one under there, and one under there, and I'm going to take the camera off and zoom in on those so you can see them, but we're going to go ahead and take those off. Okay, I'm looking. Right there is the screw. Let me zoom out. You can see where it is. And the other one is over here. Let me zoom out. These are a brass colored screw. There's the one at the top and the one right there. You need to be real careful when you take those out so that you do not mar the wood. So you want a screwdriver head that goes in the socket but doesn't stick way out, or you'll mar the wood around the edge of the screws. So anyway, I'm going to take those 4 out. Okay, sorry about walking in front of the camera, but I've got these down here loose, so I'm going to just unscrew that one and unscrew that one. And you'll see those are a brass colored, they're a dark colored screw. I don't know if they're a painting or a finish or they're actually a brass screw, but they look like a brass screw. So anyway, this comes right off of there, you'll note. And it comes off easier. This thing right here, I set this up here. This does not interfere with what I just did, but I am going to remove it just because it's kind of wobbling up there. But that gets fastened into the actual body of the car, and it wouldn't, just think of it being up there. It's not gonna, I don't have anything to screw it into on this because all the connections that it goes into are all up on the body of the car, so nothing to hold it up there besides just setting it there. The bottom wood piece you don't have to disturb. Now next thing is there's a screw here, and a screw here. There is none here because there's like this screw holds it to the frame of the car, or what will be the frame of the car. And so basically you take these out, and I had all these fairly loose. You don't want to take that one out. That holds the whole unit in. If you want to take the whole thing loose to work on wiring or whatever, you'd do those. We've got that one, and on the last one there. Okay, now at this point I don't have the speedometer cable, nor do I have the reset for the, if you're going to track your mileage, you can reset this to 0, and it's a mileage tracking deal. But what you do is you pull this out, and I'm going to move the camera so we have a better angle on this, but you pull this out and you proceed to start unscrewing and pulling light bulbs and such out. So anyway, let me set the camera at a better angle and we'll go ahead and do that. Okay, I'm going to do a little bit of make-believe here, but as you pull this thing out, you can get it out about this far, and see these are in the way, and these are actually your lights. So you can just unplug these things. You can't reach like this behind there like I'm doing now, but they're in there. You can get them out the other way. So I pull the lights out, okay, and then what happens is I can reach my hand in here, and I'm going to pull this out. I believe this black thing has the speedometer cable on it. This is just a cap made to protect it from shipping, but you have to lean it out, and you have to get this cap and you have to unscrew it, which is the speedometer cable. You unscrew that, okay. It's got a lot of threads on it. All right, got that off. But I can't pull that out of there because that goes down to the transmission. So now you can pull this out a little farther as you go. And the last thing you got to do is right down here on the bottom of it, there's a little screw that goes to a flexible, I don't know what to call it. It's the cable that comes up and resets it to 0 on your odometer down at the bottom if you want to track your mileage driving to the store or something. I reset it between oil changes, but then it turns over 1,000 miles and I forget if I got 2,000 or 1,000 miles on it. But anyway, you have to lean that out, and that is just a regular righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. You unscrew that and then the whole thing comes out there. And it basically goes in the same fashion. Okay, putting this back in the car here. Get the right side up. Alright. What you got here is these plug in the lights I talked about, but this will be your high beams. You have a left and right turn signal, and you've got lights here and here that just light up the dial. So those are your driving lights. And when I talk about the screw-ins, this right here is the little screw-in, and it's slotted, it's squared, so as you put it in, it kind of usually just drops right in. And this speedometer cable, it's slotted too, but it usually drops right in. So as you screw those on there, and the secret to it is you get it in there, and you can pull it out a little ways, about that far, and I don't hope you can see that, but I screw that bottom one on, and I get that bottom light in, the light that lights the dial up. Probably goes in first. I can't show you that. It's hard to see that. And then I screw that speedometer cable in, plug the rest of the lights in. So that's how you take one out. I don't have either one of those cables that come up, and they're rigid and they don't give a lot. So that's why I always screw them on first. And pretending that I got all of those in. I guess I could have plugged the lights in, but I keep plugging them and unplugging them. Anyway, we got the 3 screws that go in there, and I'm going to do that next. Okay, putting this thing back in is pretty damn simple. It's just a reverse of the other policy. This, in this corner right here, that in that corner right there, as I put this in, is kind of, excuse me, is kind of a place that I guess you'd say is hard to get to. But what I'm going to do is put my screwdriver in there, get it in the hole, screw it in a few times. But I do that one first, especially when it's in the dash, because this one here, I can actually reach my hand up in there, and I got big hands, but pretending it's in the dash, you can get that started by hand, and I can get this one started by hand. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten those three down. Okay, in case you can't get the speedometer cable back here, by the way, you can't reach back in here when the dash is in. But if you get to the point where you're taking all this out, you've got to take these three out anyway. But if you take the one here, one here, one there, and one there, this whole thing comes out. Now you got all kinds of wires and stuff connected to it. But it comes out on that side quite a ways, and it'll come out on this side with the speedometer cable and that other cable down here for the mileage at the bottom. This is your actual overall mileage at the top. But anyway, if you can't get that speedometer cable and the other cable off, if they're old and been on there a while, you can pull this whole thing out there, and it makes it really easy to get that speedometer cable off. The only thing is, I like to do it, and I've done many of them without taking the this part off. But if you got to do any other maintenance like clocks and I've got this in a startup bench at the office because I've got it on the engine to do oil pressure and all that. I got a gallon of gas in it, so I guess it's not real important on the fuel level, but that's got all your gauges on that side. So I hope this was a helpful video. Yeah, I just got back from the Rolls Royce annual convention out in Tahoe, and my Cloud 2 won first place out there in the Cloud division. I don't know, between the Bentleys and the Clouds, they had about 20 cars. So anyway, we kicked the butts of those California guys, us Midwest, flyover country guys. I kind of enjoyed going out there and seeing. I compete against Larry DeRocher's car if I'm on this side of the Continental Divide, but obviously I lose to him by a point or two on the Cloud 2. Now this car, the Cloud 3, it will not lose to Larry DeRocher's car, so that's one of my goals with this car. But I hope this was helpful, and we got a Save the Rolls Royce thing going. So most of this you can just rebuild, and it's not that big a deal, but there you go. Hope this was something you all enjoyed. Okay, taking this speedometer apart, and these things do need to be serviced every once in a while. This ring here unscrews like that, and it is clockwise. And then what you have is you have a glass in here, and I'm going to tip it up. So you get this glass out. I'm going to be real careful with that. Okay, the next thing you get out is, I've had this one apart, so all this stuff, sometimes you got to take a little pointy thing and get all these pieces out. The next thing, this rim, which is just a guard, comes out. So to go over that again, you got the guard and the rim goes there, and then the glass goes over it, and then this seal goes on top of it. So we got that. Okay. Now the next thing I'm going to do is flip it over, and you always got to be careful of this needle, but it's inside, so I'm not going to really worry about it. Now there's actually 4 screws that go around here. And you take them out, and then this whole thing comes out. Now, okay, I'd already taken 3 of those screws out, and they're a real small screw, and they got a tiny little lock washer on them there, if you can see that. But anyway, that comes out of there, and these little rubber things go around each one of those. So anyway, these little rubber things go around each one of those posts, which is where the lights go in for the turn signal and the high beam. So anyway, that's a part. Now to talk about this a little bit, see this here? It's got actually a thread on it, and that thread turns, oh, there goes my kitty. That thread turns this. And if you turn that, I don't know if I can turn it enough, but you can see I'm doing the speedometer. But this thing right here will spin. It spins that and that. But anyway, this thing here should spin freely, but you should lubricate these every once in a while. This one actually locked up on me, and it stripped the little, this gear right here is plastic. So my goal is going to be to take this one, which I bought. It's a Bentley, but it's the same mechanism. So I'm going to take my face cover, put it on this one I got from the Rolls Royce meet. They had an auction item that I won. Actually, I won 3 or 4 of them. I didn't really mean to win them all, but it was a silent auction, and it's worked out good. So I'm going to take that face plate, put it on the Bentley, and then I'm going to go in and I'm going to service and lubricate it. And that's the part you really want to pay attention to. Okay, I took the Bentley one apart there, as you can see, and took the face plate off of it, but I'll show you how to take the face plate off. There's a little screw right there. Trying to be careful not to scratch any paint, but you can see that teeny weeny little screw there. And if I take this side off, it should just slide off of there, and I can dump the screw out. But now you can see that I got the plate off. I can put it on the other one, and you can see here, this one's got a little plastic plate on it here. This one did not. Besides that, it's pretty identical, and that plate, I'm not real sure what the function of it is, but there you go. Now this one I've lubricated up, but basically you want this thing to be able to turn free right here, and yeah, if you hold this down, it won't ratchet forward, but see, that turns nicely. And I'm going to go to the back here, and this spins the counters. One counter on this side and this side, there's little gears. And now you can see how this gear is all worn down compared to that gear. It's been eaten off because of the way the gear chewed it off. So it doesn't have any teeth left on it. And I mean, the gear is on the outside of this. If you can see, it's threaded there. And that turns that little thing, gear on the back there, and that one's wore down, which is why this one is not working. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this one and I'm going to lubricate it and see if I can't get everything working on it real smoothly before I put it back in the car. And this is the part I said you should pay a lot of attention to, because I'm going to grease a lot or oil a lot of those little points in there. Okay, here we go. I'm going to put a drop of liquid in all the little joints here. Liquid, it's oil. I'm going to do my clickers. I'd like to do in between the clickers. And when I do in between the clickers, if I get any oil on any of the numbers, I go ahead and wipe them off. And I'm going to take the back of this and twist it down so I can get into that. But if you've been wondering about this back part, it spins. You can see that spins. There's a set of bearings in underneath this piece of, you can see the bearings in here. Now that's a piece of felt there, and that should be on there. And I'm going to put some oil in that little roller bearing there. And squooge it around. I may put a little more in there. I'm trying to get it all down in that, it's running a little rough there. There, it's going good now. And surprisingly, the only thing that drives that is that there, and the speedometer's driven off the... But anyway, that's all oiled up, so I'm going to clean my hands up here a second. Okay. Now I am going to put on my Rolls Royce with my two little screws. And before I put that on, I am going to put this plastic thing back on here. And you've got to slip that under the dial. Okay. Got that one started. Then I'm going to get the other ones. Oh. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to do here is I got everything oiled up. I'm going to wait and oil my felt ring that goes on here last. But basically this goes in, and that little gear's got to go on that. But it basically just usually drops in pretty damn straight. Like that. Okay. And you got to hold it while you get the first screw going with the... And they start, that's kind of keyed, so I've got that one started, so now I can turn it down. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and put in the other 4 screws in the washer and see what happens. Okay, now to finish this off, got to get back. Now these parts you can paint black if you so desire. This I painted flat black, so you can kind of clean things up a little bit. You know, before I put that in there, I'm just gonna give that one last little clean up. If you go against the needle, you won't want to rub down where you push the needle down. It will not go up. Okay, and then this cover up goes in, or it should go in. There she goes. And that I did paint flat black. And next, get the seal. And you need to make sure the ends are matched up there. And then that glass sets right in there. And then this thing, which I also painted flat black, goes on there, and then it twists one way or the other. Well, that ring isn't going to fit on there. I'm going to take the ring that came off of it and see how that fits on there. Oh, that goes right on. Well, there you go. My rings were not compatible. And while I've got this thing on the bench, I'm going to stick that back on there. And I'm going to give that a little squirt of oil. Like that. It's dry as a bone. I'm going to give it another squirt of oil. Okay. So that's my new Bentley, 56,000 miles. That's going in the Cloud 3. And we'll see how she works. By the way, for you fans of the older Rolls Royces, in the 6-cylinder, I think you only got up to, this is an old Rolls Royce out of a well, it's maybe early Cloud. But it went up to 100 miles an hour. And the back of it, this arrangement here lights it and such, but there are no turn signals. This is a European model. So anyway, and interestingly, this has 3 mounting brackets. And this thing here is a real cool thing. It covers everything up while you're not using it. That doesn't have the felt ring on it, surprisingly. But since that is going to be my good new one, I'm going to use that cap that comes with a brand new rebuilt one. Like that. And we'll call that quits for the, till we put it in the car, that is. To clean the glass in the instruments, you simply remove the outer ring. The outer ring has these slots on it, and these slots fit into the slots up here, and the glass sets on the inside. The glass is hard to get out of the particular one with the gauges, and so I had to take a couple of the gauges out, and it is keyed up at the top. You can see I have sanded this a little bit. This is going to get some dull black paint before we put them back together. This one is not keyed, but it is easier to get out. I don't know if it is the aluminum housing or paint on paint surfaces, but quite easy to get that one out. The bulbs, there's always a question on the bulb. The 3-watt bulbs here fit into the holders that go here. The 1-watt bulbs, they fit back in the back here, and you can see there's multiple of them. Now, some of them are for the indicator lights right and left, but the rest of them are basically illumination. This is a test to see how the LEDs look. This is the LED lights. I don't know if this is going to work, but I'll try both of them and see if there's a difference. Okay, now this is a shot with the old incandescent bulbs in it. I hope you can see the difference. I'll show you the kind of bulbs I bought and the kind of bulbs that I'm taking out. Okay, here we go. These were the incandescent bulbs. I got them from Albers. You can see they are UD5500s. They were the dim lights. The LED lights here, I'm going to try to get a picture of the part number, but it's 57567W E10 screw base. They come in packs. I don't know, I bought them in packs of 5. You know, they basically look like that. Some of them have a bayonet base, for example. The one that you get out of the cigarette lighter, and it mounts here. If you can see in here, it mounts right here on the cigarette lighter. It pops off, then the bulb holder here pops out with the bulb, and that is the bulb holder. There is a little protective device around there that you put around the bulb, but I got the 1893s from Albers, and I'll put that in there. I cannot put an LED light in the cigarette lighter, even though I never use it. I don't think anybody does. It just won't fit. So the other thing too is I bought some crew bulbs that are turn signals and such, and I'm going to try some LED lights in them, but I don't know if they're heavy enough to trigger the relays. So we'll give them a try and see if they work. You can also get the bayonet lights that you use for the light when you open the doors at the top of the headliner. I'm showing you a picture here. I think it's a pretty good picture anyway, of the back of the panel. Everybody's usually curious. Got everything put together except the switch box. And on the switch box, there's a bad wire here. And you can see the wire is actually in pretty good shape. But right here, it's frayed, and I'm going to put a new bullet in on that, and we'll get a little bit of video with that. Okay, here we go. I think you can see in there my clock is ticking away. I'm doing a little test on it. There is a little screw adjustment on the back of the clocks where you can adjust the speed, fast, and slow. So while I've got it out, I've got the electricity hooked up to it here. I'm just using a battery charger. And I'm just testing that, and I may tweak it a little bit before I put it back in the car because it's sure a lot easier to do it out of the car. To get to the bulbs and the actual speedometer and your instrument cluster here, you have to take the screws out here, and then the unit will pull out so you can get to the back lights. The speedometer is the same way, the cigarette lighter, and the clock. Okay, I just couldn't stand finishing a video just saying make believe there was cables. This right here has a square end on it, 4 sides. It goes in there. This thing is rotated down, so getting into this back one right here, and it goes in pretty easy, but if it doesn't pop right in, you got to rotate this lower end of this, and that swoops under the dash like so. So it has a little tension on it, but that little ring there, you see that little ring? That screws on there. I'll show you a picture of them. I've got the dash. This is an old body I'm showing you. But anyway, that screws in that hole. These are all the light holes and the turn signal holes. Now, the speedometer cable kind of looks like that. And it goes in the end, like so. And sometimes you got to rotate that a little bit to get it in there. I mean, when it's in there, you got to twist the cable back and forth a little bit. Usually it just kind of falls right in there. But then that big nut, serrated screw-on thing screws on there. But when you're trying to get that and you got that in the dash, and I was trying to explain, you're kind of unscrewing it like this if you pull these lights out. Like so. And then this comes a little farther out and you get your hand down in here and you can unscrew this one. So that's how that kind of comes out. Okay, I'm trying to show you here. I'll go from the front of the panel to the back. I rolled those cables in there, screwed them on. You can see the little cable down below. Now I'm going to go on around here. And I think you can see up underneath both of them there clearly where they come out. You know, I'm an authentic guy. Put this old radio back in it, put new transistors and fixed it so it works, but it only works on the upper FM or AM bands. It's kind of funny. This concludes my video right now. This I'm going to try to put it together and put it online before I head down to well, I'm going down to Venice, Louisiana, bull red fishing. Gonna drive down there, hope to make some video on the way, so you guys can look forward to that.